What's going on, community? It's Pastor Brett with today's daily Bible reading. As always, encourage you to follow along, get these verses, these passages, and the videos delivered in your inbox, findcommunity.com/Bible reading. As we prepare for this coming weekend, and Pastor Brad brings us a message of, in the Psalms, looking at how God brings us out of shame. I think one of the most powerful examples of this in the Gospels, in the life and the teachings of Jesus, is in our passage today, John chapter 8. So let's read together, John 8, 1 through 11. But Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. At dawn, he appeared again in the temple courts, where all the people gathered around him, and he sat down to teach them. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought a woman caught in adultery. They made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. In the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. Now, what do you say?" They were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him. But Jesus bent down and started to write on the ground with his finger. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, "Let any of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." Again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time, the older ones first, until only Jesus was left. With the woman still standing there, Jesus straightened up and asked her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No one, sir," she said. "Then neither do I condemn you," Jesus declared. "Go now and leave your life of sin." This is such a rich and layered passage. There are so many details that we could spend the whole day examining them and picking them apart, what I think John wants us to understand about this interaction. But a couple of points to focus our devotion, our thought this morning. The first is just noticing the scene, right? This is a woman who they say was caught in the act of adultery. Now, you and I both know that the act of adultery takes two, right? It takes two to tango. But for some reason or another, we'll get to that in a second, they only have the woman here. And they bring her up before Jesus, and there's a shaming element here. Not only did they catch her in the act, right? Catch her red-handed in adultery, so it said, so to speak. Also here it says that they gathered her and wanted to have her stand before the group. And Jesus is in the temple here teaching, so it could have been a rather large group. In the early church, we know that when they met and thousands gathered, they met in the temple courts before they began to meet in homes. So, I mean, there could have been hundreds, maybe even thousands of gathered here in the temple courts, seeing this woman shamed. Really, I think what comes to mind is this woman is used as a prop. She is manipulated to try to trap Jesus, as the text says. The teachers want to see, well, will Jesus be, it's kind of that political litmus test. Is he soft on crime or is he soft on the law? Is he lacking compassion? It's a trap either way. If Jesus says that she should be stoned, then he's showing the inconsistency, right? He has no mercy, and they would accuse him of being a hypocrite, because in other cases he says, "Have mercy." But if Jesus says to forgive her, to let her go, to deny what Moses' law said, well, then of course the people who are gathered, these lawyers, they would use this and leverage that to say Jesus doesn't take seriously the law of Moses. And so they're using this woman's shame. They're intentionally shaming this woman to trap Jesus. And what it makes me think is just this powerful reminders. Do we see others around us as people to use, to get what we want, to manipulate, to that are in our way or could be used for our ends? Or do we see them as God sees them? You see, shame is often a tool that either Satan uses in our hearts, or society uses, or family members use, to change behavior. But here Jesus said, no, I don't want you to feel shamed. Instead, I'm going to give you another option. And so Jesus, after and it's an amazing unpacking here of the story of how he gets everyone to drop their stones, and as he's writing on the dirt, and the older leave first, followed by the younger of these zealots who are ready to put this woman to death. They trap him, and he ends up reversing it on them, where they feel they have no response, no reply, no retort. And then he turns back to this woman who has just been publicly shamed, dragged across the mud, made to stand before dozens, hundreds, possibly thousands of people in her shame. And he says, where are they? Where are these who are condemning you? Those who are shaming you? And she says, they're gone. No one's here. No one now condemns me. And Jesus, this last statement of the verse is so powerful because it says, neither then do I condemn you. Now go and leave your life of sin. You see, Jesus wasn't there Jesus wasn't there to do what the group was doing, right? To shame her or to use her as a prop to make a point, to illustrate something, to make himself look good. He said, I don't condemn you, but also leave your life of sin. Leave behind the sin that you've struggled with. Obviously, Jesus knows something about her and her heart that we're not attuned to. We don't know exactly what he saw in her heart. But what we do know is he did not shame her. He did not use this opportunity just to look down on her and to say, shame, shame. Who are you? What are you doing? He said, no, I don't condemn you. And yet he left her with a better path, an invitation to a better path. Go and sin no more. I hope as we take this word today, and I'm sure that if you've been around church for some years, you've heard this story preached and taught and you've read it yourself, or maybe if you're newer, this is a new story to you. But either way, I want us to look at it today with this lens of how do we sometimes use the people around us for our own ends, right? Just like these lawyers and the teachers and the religious folks in Jesus' day, they are using this woman as a trap, right? As bait in this trap to try to get Jesus. And they're missing the reality of who she is, who God has created her to be. And I think Jesus saw through all of that. And in that last verse, we see that Jesus saw her for who she was. I don't condemn you. I'm not here to throw stones, but also let me invite you to something greater. I think Jesus saw her with compassion and invited her to a greater and truer life in God. May we see people as God sees them, as Jesus would see them, and not as we so often see in TV, politics, Hollywood, all the things around us, where people are tools to manipulate, things to use in order to get our ends. All right, guys, I hope that word encourages you today, and may we seek to put it into practice around you today. May you ask God, and I ask God with you, to give us opportunities to live out this compassion around us today. All right, guys, God bless, and we will talk to you soon. Can't wait to connect with you this weekend.